Órale, Cholo Trucker, Mas Movies and Shows, and here we got the show, Netflix show, Monsters, the story of Lau and Eric Menendez. Um, when I saw that this was going to come out, there was two ways I felt about this. One was excited. I'm like, yes, I don't know why. I'm like really, really interested in their story. And the other feeling was, how many more ways can they tell this story? There's already been a show, there's been like three movies, there's a documentary out there. I mean, there's so many things out there of this story. So, I was kind of on a teeter-totter. I'd feel excited, like, all right, man, this looks pretty good. And then I'd be like, I mean, well, what else can they tell? So anyway, I'll go ahead and start breaking it down episode by episode. We will break down episode one on this one, okay? Now, so one thing I'm not going to get into, and I'll probably say this for every one of these episodes that I'm going to be talking about, is that I don't give a rat's ass about, hey, it's fake and there's embellishment and that's not what really happened. I don't give a rat's ass. Okay, I do not give a rat's ass. I'm talking about the show and the show itself. I'm not talking about, hey, does it match up to what really happened? I don't give a rat's ass. All right. So we're just talking about the show and the show itself. First of all, I'm not sure if I've seen any of these actors. Now I'm just talking about episode one, episode numero uno. I'm not sure if I've seen any of these actors. The mom looks a little familiar, the one who plays Kitty. She looks a little familiar. The dad, he looks a little familiar as well. I didn't really look into their careers and who they really are as actors and what else they've been on. The ones that play Lau and Eric, I don't think I've seen them in anything else. So the show started in a way that I did not see coming. Okay, I didn't think it was to start that way, but nonetheless, man, it starts with them in the limousine. Everything has already happened. And it was pretty cool because I was thinking none of it had happened yet until the whole shoe thing. When Eric asks Lyle, is that dad's shoes? And, we already know through the story where it's like Lyle's wearing his dad's shoes, saying, hey, I'm feeling his shoes, right? Something of that magnitude. So I'm like, oh, so everything already happened. And then you see Eric starting to break down a little bit. Then I'm like, wow, okay, so everything happened already. Um, what I liked is the storytelling on how they put this together. The fact that Eric goes to the doctor, right? The therapist, and he starts telling the story. Honestly, I didn't even know it was around Halloween time, or I didn't. That I never knew, or maybe it just went over my head and I just never really caught on. But um, that's how you go back into the story on what happened. Now, when I saw the trailer to this, that's not how I thought this was going to play out. But the introduction to these characters is basically you already need, at least for episode one, you already need to know who they are in order to somewhat catch on what's going on. Now, maybe down the line in other episodes, they'll probably take it even further back and really break down who this family really was. But for episode one, you're just kind of like, if you have no idea of what was going on with this family, you're kind of just like, okay, so dad was just a little overly aggressive and strict. Mom was a little bit of a, she was a little bit of a pill junkie and alcoholic. Eric's telling the story of, hey, he saw this movie where these kids, or not kids, but, sons killed their parents. And that just kind of motivated him to bring it to his brother Lyle. And they just both kind of agreed. You were able to tell in episode one that Their dad was very controlling. And I was like, well, mom, okay, if you don't know the story of this family, it's just like, wow, for that reason, you're gonna whack mom and dad. And by the way, you do not have to wait. I mean, it is graphic on when you see the killing and on how they're trying to cover their tracks to a certain extent, trying to go watch the movie Batman. That's right, Batman with Michael Keaton, the Cape Crusader, and how it's failing because movie policy. I don't know if it's still is it still like that? I'm not really sure, but they could not get a ticket to go watch Batman because it was already past the 15-minute mark. I don't know if that is theater policy, but apparently at that theater at that time it was. They were trying to buy tickets to a Batman showing, which already had passed the 15-minute mark. So they had to buy tickets to the next showing. So they go out to whatever, I forgot the name of the place, some sort of, not bar, but some sort of restaurant slash bar place, whatever, so they could be seen. They come home, they realize the cops aren't there. They make the phone call. And this is all Eric telling the story to the therapist, right? The therapist having an affair with this woman, getting her down there so she could be some sort of witness, just in case. I'm assuming just in case if he gets whacked. And, it kind of ends right there, right? Them leaving the therapist office. Now, I want to say this, man. I, I'm really digging the characters of Lyle and Eric. I don't, even in the movies that I've seen, I think this is probably the best job from the actor. Now, again, this is only episode one. The actor, the one who's still in the show, for me at least, and this is just in episode one, is the one who's playing Lyle Menendez. I mean, Eric's cool, I guess, but Eric's the younger brother. He's kind of a little bit more calm, cool, collective. He's a little bit more of the scared little kid who's feeling super duper guilty inside. Where Lyle, they're portraying him as like he does not regret it. He's actually cool with what's happening. And hey, man, you know what? It's just my brother and I now, and we run the show, Holmes. We're the shot callers now. And his character is really stealing the show, at least in episode one. Now, maybe down the line, some other character steals the show. But in episode one, I thought he stole the show, man. you know, Kids coming trick-or-treating at his house. And he tells one of the kids, hey man, that's a king size Snicker. Feel great for you. You ungrateful little bastard. Why don't you take your ass back to Van Nuys, you poor son of a bee? Like it was so damn good. Lie the Lau Menendez, the actor, stole the show for episode one. I really enjoyed it. I'm hooked. I am hooked. Like I said, I was kind of, on a teeter totter here, like going back and forth, like, hey, man, this is cool because I like this story. At the same time, like, I mean, how many times can you watch this story over and over and over again? As it stands right now, at least for episode one, I thought they did a great job to get you hooked, to get you into the story. They pretty much didn't make you wait to know what happened. You know what happens. And now I'm kind of interested. Okay, so what are they going to do for the next episodes? Is this when they're going to go back and start telling the story of them growing up? Because we didn't get to any of the abuse, we didn't get to any of that stuff. And just to make it clear, I don't give a rat's ass on what is true and what is not. I'm just talking about the entertainment aspect of this story. That is it. So don't get at me with like, hey, this what didn't really happen. Hey, that didn't really happen. This is fake. I don't give a rat's ass. But nonetheless, this show got me hooked. We might talk a little bit more about that, about the actual true story at the very end of all this. But anyways, that's episode 1. I loved it. I loved it. It got me hooked. So that is episode 1 of Monsters, the Lau and Eric Menendez story. Cholo Trucker, M.A.S. Movies and Shows. Catch you guys on next one.